Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're focusing our mission entirely on what strategists are calling the three-body problem.
Right.
Basically, the potential for a simultaneous, direct conflict involving the U.S., Russia, and China. We're digging into your sources to see how deterrence could, well, fail here.
It's a really crucial frame because, this setup is fundamentally different from the Cold War. That was bipolar.
Simpler, in a way.
Exactly. Tripolar systems, historically, they're just less stable, much more volatile, less predictable.
And the sources point to a kind of structural logic for that instability, don't they? This idea that the two, let's say, weaker powers, Russia and China, they almost inevitably team up against the strongest one.
That's the theory, yeah, against the U.S. in this case.
Right.
And the most dangerous bit in the material isn't just bad timing, like two separate regional wars kicking off. The real threat is that this Russia-China coalition, they seem to be designing this as one integrated global challenge.
Okay, integrated. Let's unpack that because the sources suggest this convergence. It's moving beyond just, handshakes and agreements. It's getting operational.
Yeah, the shared goal is pretty clear. Push back against U.S. power projection globally.
But how functional is that?
No, that's what's striking. We're seeing specific evidence now. Russia is actively transferring real-world, hard-won operational know-how directly to the PLA.
And this isn't just joint drills, right? We're talking complex air maneuver training, even specific gear.
That's right. Things like the Orlan 10 UAVs, those multi-purpose drones Russia's been using heavily, plus specialized reconnaissance training. This is direct transfer of capability.
So the upshot for the U.S. is you can't just plan for two separate fights.
Precisely. If, say, the U.S. has to intervene over Taiwan, the planning assumption has to be fighting an integrated doctrine. A Chinese force potentially boosted by recent Russian tactical lessons, not just two parallel threats.
Hold on, though. If they're so integrated strategically, why do the sources show such different nuclear strategies? Russia and China seem miles apart there. Doesn't that suggest a crack in the supposed integration?
That's a really sharp point, and it highlights the complexity. Their nuclear postures aren't identical, but they interlock to pressure the U.S. from different directions.
Okay.
So take Russia. Their revised 2024 doctrine, it's all about escalation dominance.
Meaning they'll go nuclear faster.
Essentially, yes. They've explicitly lowered the threshold. They claim the right to use nuclear weapons even against a conventional attack if it poses a, quote, critical threat to their sovereignty.
Which sounds deliberately vague.
It is, and they compound that ambiguity by using dual-use missile systems that can carry conventional or nuclear warheads. The goal seems to be blurring that nuclear firebreak, trying to force NATO to back down in a crisis in Europe out of sheer uncertainty.
Okay, so Russia's using ambiguity in Europe. Meanwhile, China in the Pacific.
China's focus is much tighter. Regional deterrence. Keep the U.S. out of a Taiwan conflict. Full stop.
And how are they signaling that?
Well, the sources point to that 2025 display of full modern nuclear triad. Think land-based missiles like the DF-5C, yes, but also new sea-launched JL-3s, maybe even new bombers. Critically, stuff explicitly capable of hitting the continental U.S.
So moving beyond just having some nukes to having a credible threat against the U.S. homeland itself.
Exactly. It's a shift from minimal deterrence towards, real strategic competition aimed squarely at preventing U.S. intervention.
All right, so we have this picture of integrated conventional operations, but divergent, though interlocking, nuclear strategies. Where does the economy fit into this? Your sources stress this concept of weaponized interdependence.
Yes. Because if conflict actually breaks out, the global economy fragments instantly, catastrophically. Weaponized interdependence is basically using those essential economic supply chains, resources as weapons.
And the sources single out China's leverage here.
Oh, absolutely. It's extraordinary. Think about rare earth elements.
Critical for high-tech defense.
Right. Absolutely critical. Now, you might know China mines maybe 70% globally, but the real choke point, processing, they control nearly 90% of that.
90%. Wow.
And these aren't just, optional extras. They're in everything.
Yeah.
Precision munitions, satellites, advanced radars. Combine that vulnerability with Taiwan's absolute dominance in advanced semiconductors.
Which are also vital for defense tech.
And civilian tech. The scale of the dependence becomes, stark.
And here's the kicker, the part that really jumps out from the sources. The timeline. It's not a slow squeeze. Because the U.S. defense industrial base, it runs lean. just-in-time supply chains.
Yeah.
So if 90% of your processed rare earths just disappear overnight,
There's no real stockpile, no redundancy built in.
meaning these economic dependencies aren't just a problem. They're a fast-acting, potentially existential threat.
Yeah.
The sources suggest key capabilities could be crippled in less than a year.
It paints a pretty sobering picture, doesn't it? This deep dive really shows how the instability of this tripolar system seems to favor the Russia-China alignment right now. They're using doctrinal integration and exploiting these deep economic vulnerabilities.
Which leads us to the final thought. This sheer complexity, the simultaneous nature of these interlocking threats, it really demands a fundamentally new way of thinking, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
So the question we leave you, the listener, with, and it's the question facing strategists, is can the U.S. actually develop the kind of urgent, explicit, strategic doctrine needed to handle simultaneous crises? With two nuclear powers operating under such radically different and, frankly, hostile thresholds, that's the core of the three-body problem.